Welcome to our panel discussion, Charter of Trust. I hope everybody's feeling good so far, and you're ready for an interesting panel discussion here on stage. My name is Chris Brow. I'll be your hosting guide throughout this session. And what are we here for? In the first case, of course, this is the leading trade fair show for industrial technology, the Hannover Messe 2018. And here it's all about showcasing the latest developments in key technologies from research and development, industrial automation, IT, production technologies and services, but also energy and mobility technologies. And digitalization, as we just saw on the screen, is changing it all. Through artificial intelligence and big data analytics, by, of course, connecting millions of devices in the Internet of Things, and through this, they interact on an entirely new level and also scale. But this also poses a big threat. Siemens is making the most of the occasion and is highlighting an issue that is not only important to the company, but also poses major challenges throughout the entire world. Some might even say it is the most important issue of all. We're talking about cybersecurity. And this is exactly where the Charter of Trust comes into play. Trust might also be the key word we're looking for here, since people, but also organizations, have to trust digital technologies to be safe and secure. Otherwise, simple as that, they won't embrace digital transformation. So on February 16th, during the Munich Security Conference, Siemens and 8 partners signed a pact that advocates a total of 10 principles intended to make our digital world more secure, more safe. So we thought it might be a great thing to highlight this topic right on day one of the Hannover Messe and invite guests from the industry and experts to talk about this. So to start it off, I am very honored to welcome the Chief Technology Officer of Siemens AG here on stage. Please welcome Roland Busch.
Thank you. Warm welcome from my side to this exciting booth and to our Charter of Trust, which we launched in February this year together with some partners. And I would like to give the frame. Later on, we will have a very distinguished panel where you get much more information. So let me start with this. Digitalization changes everything. If you're not convinced, why don't spend a day or two in our booth? You will get it. And this is only part of it. This is the industrial space, the energy space. The whole thing happens at buildings, mobility, in healthcare. So it's really changing a lot. If you ask people, what's the biggest change in human beings? The World Wide Web connecting people? I would say the biggest change is in front of us. It's connecting devices. This scales much more than you've ever seen before in a speed which is constantly improving. And therefore, we believe this is a trend which we see in all our industries, which we have to support and underlying. Yet, there's an issue. This is all about cybersecurity. The more we are connecting devices, the more it spreads, the more exposure we have to any kind of cyber attacks. And now we are really talking the core elements of our infrastructure. Nobody wants our grid to be hacked. Nobody wants, let's say, autonomous cars when they're driving to be hacked. So therefore, the exposure, the vulnerability is getting up, and we have to take care about that. We have to come with an answer. And very many people, they just don't trust. They don't trust that the solution they are buying, they're implementing, they're pursuing their purposes, what it's meant for, and it makes the whole thing secure. And if I talk about cybersecurity, this is not just an airbag. It's much more. It can be an airbag to avoid the biggest impact, but it has to be much more, because our technology sits really on the core processes of manufacturing industries, of infrastructure. So this is important that this runs in a perseverant and smooth way. If you ask me about all the changes in the market, and as I told you, this trend of digitalization rolling into all our industries, what is the biggest impact which we could have in slowing it down? It's cybersecurity. It's more attacks which are preventing us from really rolling out technologies, and therefore, we believe it's an important element to really join forces and go forward, which brings me basically to the idea of the Charter of Trust. We thought it's important to mobilize not only companies, but also governments, standardization gremia, in order to really move forward and come up with answers to the questions: how can I protect my data? How can I prevent any kind of damage to the assets with which I'm running my systems? And how can I establish a basis which is a solid ground in a networked environment in a huge complex world in order to really build upon and drive this whole scheme forward for the future? Well, and we came up with an answer that we say, this is something which we have to join forces. We have to move together. And we came up with the idea of the Charter of Trust, where a couple of companies, and we will talk about it later, joined us in a common approach along these lines. You see these 10 points, and these 10 points are covering a lot of different elements, rightfully so. And if you think about this, all starts with technology, of course. Yes, well, but if you look at point number 1, it's ownership. It starts with the ownership and accountability, responsibility within the companies in order to really ensure that we walk the talk, as we do, by the way, with our products. If we manufacture products, we deliver quality because we have processes, we have managers who have quality in mind, who are making sure every day that we are delivering quality according to certain specifications and certifications. So it starts with that. It's also, if we talk about number 3, security by default. It should not be questioned whether or not you have a solution embedded in your products which is giving you a certain level of cybersecurity. It should be in there by default, by design. It goes back to the architecture of your products, of your systems, but also of the infrastructure with which you are producing your products. It's more complex, it's end-to-end. And it goes all the way to, of course, education, training, down to the way how we are joining initiatives, we're learning from each other, but also how we are reporting incidents openly so we can much, much faster react to any kind of incident once it happens. It needs a strong partnership with companies, and when we launched this Charter of Trust at the Munich Security Conference in February this year, we had many, many people, 500 WIPs participating, big resonance from many of them who are interested in seeing what to contribute, how to contribute. Now, next step is we want to get this momentum rolling into really concrete actions. We want our partners to step up, walk the talk. That's important, that everybody who's joining should really also see how that goes within their own operations. We want others to join and leverage that, not only within the companies, but also to governments in order to see how we can drive this agenda forward. So with that, this was a short introduction, a lot of things to talk about. And I'm more than pleased to have another speaker, which I guess you would like to introduce. With that, thanks for joining us, and have a very interesting session on the Charter of Trust.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll take that. Mr. Busch, for joining us here today. And like you just said, we have another speaker on stage now to tell us more about concrete business perspectives, but also about the importance of the Charter of Trust from a practitioner's point of view. So please welcome with a big round of applause the Global Industry Managing Director at IBM. Here is Martina Koederitz. Hi, Martina. Here's your pointer.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to be here today at this event, and I want to use the opportunity to say thank you to Siemens for leading this engagement and the Charter of Trust, and for sure organizing this event. Let me give you in a couple of minutes some insights and thoughts on IBM's perspective on this topic. So the first is we are really all witnessing a real explosion of data. And just to understand from where we are looking here, it's 90% of all the data we generate in the last couple of years. 20% is structured and 80% is unstructured. And all this data is out there, and 60% of it's lost within milliseconds. The potential for the Internet of Things is huge, and we are currently just touching it with our fingertips. That's one starting point to think. On the other hand, we will reach, We will soon reach a stage that every second, 57,000 new devices get connected to the internet. And just to manage the possibilities, as more and more devices come online and securely and intelligently interact with each other from a device perspective. But more, the data can be captured, analyzed, and transformed into actionable insights. The greater potential in our mind is for unlocking innovation and improving operations. And really, another topic is it's not just about the data being generated, shared, and analyzed, but also about how this data, intelligent, interconnected devices interact with people, which is also a very important dimension in our point of view. The other view is on the full potential of IoT, where we need to address cybersecurity as a key. So just some of the key threats: software bugs, no transmission encryption, weak encryption, or simple username and passwords. And you all know this still is going on, even if we try to explain why it's important to go a different way. So from an IBM point of view, we really believe that companies have an obligation to clients to handle their data responsibly. Therefore, our CEO has announced in October 2017 a new set of guidelines called Data Responsibility at IBM, which explain how we as a company will collect, store, manage, or progress our clients' data. And this new set is focusing on 5 principles around ownership, privacy, security, artificial intelligence, and skills. And just let me pick one here. Principle number 1, it's absolutely key for us, especially in today's environment, and that it's data ownership. We have taken as IBM a very clear position that our clients' data is their own, and the insight derived from the data is theirs. And in February this year, 2018, we took a step further and focused on one particular element of data responsibility by joining the Charter of Trust as a founding partner. Once again, it's not the organization, it's really our CEO who signed up these initiatives with other CEOs to demonstrate a proactive approach in addressing cyber security. Let me now focus on security and trust in our data responsibility at IBM principles. On cybersecurity, we believe in public-private partnerships, in voluntary real-time sharing of threat information, and in security and privacy by design in IoT. And these principles you also can find in the Charter of Trust we just have heard. As IBM, we also be proud to be the only non-European tech company that joined the Charter of Trust as a founding partner with other EU household names. And the Charter of Trust is our way of joining forces with others to demonstrate to government, clients, and citizens that we are taking the challenges of cybersecurity seriously and that we are acting. We look forward to further expanding the list of partners with a deeper cross-sectoral participation and other international and regional companies. The 10 key principles we commit to should become the foundation of any company's approach to cyber security. Just to mention 2 here, 2 important principles: security and privacy by design, and collaboration. For us, encryption is a very important element of security and privacy by design. So for example, thanks to our new IBM C systems, our clients don't have to compromise on security for cloud and mobile environment. It's the first system that encrypts all data, whether at rest or in flight, application or database, just as an example. Or on the other hand, collaboration. IBM is doing several things to promote security industry collaboration in order to combat this new area of cybercrime. We made a significant move by opening our 700 terabyte database of threat data to the public with the launch of the IBM X-Force Exchange. X-Force Exchange allows IBM and other companies across the world to share real-time data on threats so that others in the industry can quickly adapt their defense to fight back. And by making 20 years of IBM X-Force data available for free, IBM disrupted the traditional business model for threat intelligence where companies sold access to the proprietary threats indicators. Now, cybersecurity in our mind requires therefore an integrated and holistic approach. At IBM, that it's called our security immune system. All elements of the chain need to be secured, and the objective with the Charter of Trust is to achieve in all companies involved in IoT. With that, thank you again to the initiative and looking forward to the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Koederitz, and wishing you also a good time during our panel. So next, I would like to open up a roundtable with some of the founding and upcoming Charter of Trust partners. And I'd like to pass on the question to them. How can we make our digital world more secure? So we're going to bring up another table, and I'm going to bring up our partners. So please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, from Deutsche Telekom, the Senior Vice President, Telecom Security. Please welcome Dirk Backofen. Nice to have you. Welcome on stage. You can choose. You can choose. Come to this side. Also joining us today is the Chief Cybersecurity Officer, Siemens AG, Natalia Oropeza. Natalia, nice to have you. Maybe you want to, or go over there. There we go. General Representative of NXP Semiconductors GmbH, Wolfgang Rosenbauer. Nice to have you. Also with us today is the Head of Global Government Affairs, Siemens AG, Eva Schulz-Kamm. Welcome. And joining us is the Vice President and General Manager, CISCO Germany, Eva Tuszik. Was it good? All right, Eva, nice to have you. So I'm going to join you on this side.
Oh, that's good.
There we go. OK, first of all, great that you joined us. Nice of you to be here. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Perfectly.
OK, good. So like I said before, I'd like to pass on the question, how can we make our digital world more secure? And I think this is something, in the end, if we look at these numbers, for me, it's you know, I'm not an expert. I'm not from the inside. But just looking at it, I think it's crazy. And I think it actually affects everybody. Everybody that has a device out there that is connected to the internet, you could say, is basically affected. So I'd like to see what you think of the Charter of Trust. And we're going to start it off here with Natalia. Natalia, you've been with Siemens since January, is that correct?
Correct.
Correct. So
almost 100 days.
Almost 100 days.
Not yet.
So fairly new to the team. Welcome to the family. But is this more is this more frightening to you, or is it more exciting? I mean, this is such an important topic, and you as Chief Cybersecurity Officer, I mean, what do you think of
Definitely, it's more exciting, and it's also a big opportunity to enforce the cybersecurity inside of the organization. It's a great momentum that we have now. It's a nice opportunity to cooperate with the partners and find the solutions that we need to have for cybersecurity in this digital world that we have in front of us. So it's definitely exciting.
We're going to go on with our next partner here in line, Vice President General Manager, Eva from CISCO. Now, you're not a partner yet, right? But what makes this so interesting for you, even though you're not a partner yet?
It's pretty simple at the end. When we look at the attack that we're seeing right now, just to give you a feeling, there's approximately 20 billion attacks every day that we are blocking right now. Just a comparable number, there's only 3.5 billion Google search requests a day. So the threat is there. And if we don't align and create trust, and Roland said it in the right way, it's more about creating trust in the industry, that they can manage the risk on security, on cybersecurity, then digitization will be successful. So it's very simple. It's our future. If we don't manage it, we'll have a big challenge.
I'd like to pass on the question to Mr. Rosenbauer from NXP. Now, why do you think the Charter of Trust or why is it so important to you? I know you're kind of focused on a clear, let's say, clear rules. There have to be rules, of course, when it comes to cybersecurity. What do you say to that?
Yeah, my opinion is that we need some rules, that we go all in the same way, in the same direction.
Right.
And each of us, his own way, it cannot work. And the best is, normally, the easiest is we follow the rules. Out of the rules, we get standards. We follow the standards. Then what will come up in the future is that we are all liable. We get liability for everything we drive. If you drive an IT infrastructure, you will become liable for what you do. And to follow that, you need rules. And you need to follow the rules state of the art. What does it mean? And this initiative helps us to define, to make, we can help the politic to come to the right rules. And if we are together, we can define those rules we follow. And we do it now with our we are free to follow, but we do it and it's very powerful.
Our technician was just there. Could you also Could you come over to Mr. Rosenbauer's microphone? That'd be fantastic. Thank you very much. So, next question over to Eva. Now, we talked before, and you said, nah, don't say I'm the initiator, but it was kind of your idea, the Charter of Trust. So also very interesting to hear from your perspective. Why is this so important to you?
Yes, thank you. So the easy answer to your question is, I'm in global government affairs for Siemens, and the governments ask us, hey, Siemens, you are market leader in Industry 4.0. Can you tell us what to do about cybersecurity? With all the hacks that we're seeing, bigger hacks, greater hacks, transnational hacks, can you help us on that? So I went to all the colleagues within Siemens first and asked them what to do about it. And I found out it's a major customer issue. I talked to NXP, I talked to Telecom, I talked to Deutsche Telekom, and they said it's a customer issue. And then we found out it's not cybersecurity, it's about trust. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how can you build up trust? And then, yeah, we all developed that together. So I had only that small assignment, that curiosity, just to kick it off.
So speaking of Telecom, we can pass it right over to Dirk.
Yep.
Now, being with a company, one of the biggest telecommunication companies in the world, cybersecurity, what does that mean for you? I mean, this must take in so much space.
There's only one word I can say is essential. Without having the cybersecurity, you wouldn't create trust for all the telecommunication services, for everything regarding IT cloud services. So therefore, our key purpose is to realize cybersecurity, first from the beginning, to integrate this in a security by design approach into each product for all our customers. And that means 160 million customers worldwide. And this is quite a big challenge that we have to manage with for ourselves. And therefore, we have established an own organization, Telekom Security, which is taking care about everything what we are doing for ourselves in the worldwide infrastructure, not only here in Europe, also in US. T-Mobile US is also part of the game. And for sure, we decided this is not only a situation to protect their own critical infrastructure in a manner in which everybody could rely on. Mm. It's also needed as a really purpose of good citizenship to offer the same quality of services for the entire market. And that means if you would like to manage, and we are the only one managed service provider here in this round, if you would like to manage such kind of cybersecurity, it's really important to understand that nobody, really nobody, can do it alone. Not based on technology, not based on knowledge. It's only possible if we form really and create an army of the good guys, because the army of the bad guys, the hackers, are already outside there. The question is, who could create this army of the good guys? And this is something which we found is really wonderful, really amazing, created in this Charter of Trust, in which everybody can subscribe to, see really the contribution to create trust in front of a customer, and have also some kind of exchange about knowledge, about technology, which is for sure needed. Because especially when it comes in the future, to the point of artificial intelligence, then please think about what will happen if we have not really an alignment of everybody, of all joint forces to fight against such kind of AI of the attackers. Then it's needed to have the AI of the protectors as well.
I think that's a nice word, army of good guys. Yeah. Is this what makes the Charter of Trust so special? Just an open question.
It's a good summary, I would say. But what makes it special is that it's not a purely technical focus. And when we look at the challenge, no matter if you're in Germany, in Europe, or somewhere in the world, there's a lot of companies that don't trust the new technology. And trust you create by education, one of the key elements, by ownership, responsibility, another key element. And the last one I'd like to mention is security by design. So we're currently in a phase where companies design their new production plan, and when they're done, they think, oh, let's add some security. And this doesn't work any longer. So from the first moment when you start to design your new digital work, you need to think about security. It has to become an integral part of any planning, any operation. It never ends, and it is an ongoing process. And this is what is well described in the charter. This is the reason why we think participating here will have an impact.
Wolfgang?
Security by design is easy to say. What does it mean? Industry, forget it. It never works. We have to go to the farthest what we can reach. We have to work together. Security by design in the automotive industry, that means that our system engineers sit beside the system engineer in the automotive company, in the factory. And that is what we need here. We have borders between us, and we have to overcome these borders. The biggest difficulty we are facing in cybersecurity, we are talking about, is we have to come together. And therefore, I'm absolutely thankful for an initiative like this. This is the first step to overcome these dangerous borders.
Good word there, Eva?
Yes, I think I like this army that we have for the good. They are the good ones. We are the good guys.
Yeah.
And in other words, we have islands of trust in a sea of uncertainty, in a sea of hacks. And it's also about speed. Yeah, we really have to act. We have to do something about it, against it. And if you look at the portfolios of the companies, you say, great, you can trust the Siemens, you can trust the Telecom, you can trust an IBM. But in the end, we are all a big IoT ecosystem player. So every smartphone that you have needs all of us. And if you want to have a trusted system in the end, so you have to trust all of us, and all of us together. And this is why we joined forces. And the kind of simple question from the EU Commission to say what to do about cybersecurity, this is now the answer on that. And we really want to lead by example, but we also don't know all the answers. So we want to have a dialogue with the governments and with other industry players to really move that thing forward and to go for trust.
You wanted to say something?
Yeah. You asked what makes the Charter of Trust so special, and I want to say the collaboration that we have decided to do. So you have seen the speed that we have in the digitalization, the speed that we have in the technology, and the speed that we want to have in the deployment of those technologies. So we don't have time to reinvent the wheel, and we understood that together. Now we are going to cooperate on that and make the products and solutions and the deployments that we need to do inside of our companies together and share on a voluntary basis, like was mentioned by IBM, whatever we need to do to deploy cybersecurity fast for the society, for the products, for the solutions. No?
So how can the customer benefit?
Exactly, so that the customer can benefit as soon as possible from that. So there's no discussion about collaboration here.
So yeah, please, Eva.
Yeah, I just wanted, on that question, I think our principle number 3 on security by default is special, because security by design, we all agree we do that, more or less. But security by default is that in the devices that you ship, any device, also on our booth, for the future, we have the high ambition that the highest security level is set on when we give it to the customer. Instead of we ship it without security and the customer has to do that, which is complicated. It's a very easy but strong mechanism. And if we all do it, we will have so much leverage for trust.
I would like to extend this a little bit further ahead, because everybody is speaking in the technology area currently about software-defined networks. And exactly what you said, it's needed to create and speak about security-defined networks. That first from the beginning, in each network, also for us, you're laughing a little bit because you're using a lot of CISCO components, but it's really needed to have such kind of thinking. That's exactly to set security by default to execute this. And therefore, the Charter of Trust is, in our understanding, the ideal typical framework for such, on which you have really some kind of cornerstones on which you can really benefit from as a member of this alliance, but for sure also as a customer, which getting products out of those companies of the alliance. And therefore, I hope that hopefully over time in Europe, a lot of more companies will join this, with not only in German focus, not only in European focus, hopefully also with a worldwide focus. It's very important that this kind of standardization is not only taking place here, not only taking place for more or less Germany-based companies. I think it's very important that this is more or less an international initiative supported by the governments of all those countries in which we have to apply to.
I see Oliver wanted to say something.
Yeah, that is an important point, because when we look at the customers, just go over the Hannover Messe, you will recognize there's not one single company that is only working in one country. So as we align across borders, we need to send out a message to the governments in the world and tell them we don't want to have a German version, we don't want to have a French version, a US, Russia, whatever. We need one standard on how we approach this, because otherwise we will kill the companies.
Right.
If you're a small company from Germany and need to deal with 20 different standards, you're screwed immediately.
Right.
So building trust means also defining reliable standards, because otherwise it will never work.
Is this also maybe one of the reasons why this is taking place just now and not, you know, the question could be like, why didn't you come up with this way earlier? Why not? Is it because it's more difficult than it seems?
I believe it's a very simple answer on this one. Well, digitization was a very visionary piece for a while. Everybody was talking about it. Now we're in the reality. We are implementing. Everybody is working out. Everybody got it. And now they see the challenge on security and trust. So we could have done it a bit earlier, of course, as usual, but I think the timing is great.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree. I think we had, to a certain extent, also great time of a Wild West. But unfortunately also about a cyber Wild West, right? And you cannot negotiate on trust, right? And there must be certain global rules companies stick to and customers can rely on.
I think, Wolfgang, you wanted to say something about the international part?
Yeah,
was it?
it's clear. We cannot win if we wait for the government by government by government. I think the only one way is that these giants here move forward, find together, work real together, and show now you can trust what we deliver together is state-of-the-art, certified by, for example. Then you have your first rule, it is certified, highest standard, you can trust, it is the best you can get combined. Not industry by industry by industry. And we run forward and deliver those standards we follow to the government, to global. Then it works. If you wait before fraud to the rule from the government, you can wait until an indefinite time. But this way is the best possible way to come to trust to the IoT.
But Wolfgang, one thing that we also want, I believe, as we discussed that over a cup of coffee, is that the G20 or G7 takes that on. So principle number one, governments put trust on the kind of highest responsibility level. Why not putting that on the agenda of the G20 or G7 this year and in the coming years to really move forward? So we have to do it together. I'm against it that we say industry first and government, or government first in industry. We have to go hand in hand here.
So just the word world and global has been said very often here, but you're an alliance of 8 companies now. Is this group maybe, is it more and more at 12?
Oh, we are getting more and more now.
Oh, you're getting more and more. Officially, the numbers I have, it was originally 8 that signed it, right, in February.
Right.
Or Siemens and 8 partners. Anyway, isn't this still a bit too small to evoke a global approach?
Think big, start small.
Oh.
So we want to make sure we are successful. We want to make sure we find a blueprint, a framework that we can replicate and then move faster. So I am sure that we will grow very much. But now we want to make sure that we do the steps towards cybersecurity in our companies and towards the cooperation that we want to have in the right way.
Does that make sense?
It's interesting that you call it small, because you got some player here like Siemens, tiny little company, Telecom, CISCO, so on. I think we can continue this. Now, I believe this creates fellowship, and it's a signal. And there will be companies that might not sign up, but we set a standard, and we will have fellowship. This is how new standards are implemented. There's some big player, global player.
Right.
Most of us are represented in 180 countries and more. So I believe we will see in each part of the world companies listening to what is happening, because customers looking for this. They're not looking for the new technology. They're not looking for whatever. They're looking for an answer to their question, can I trust digitization? And this is our main work.
Yeah. I was referring more to the number of participants so far than the size.
No, I will tweet this later.
But
tiny companies.
There we go. Go viral. That's good. Yes.
Exactly, go viral. And there are literally hundreds and thousands of initiatives globally now that advocate in favor of more cybersecurity, more trust. But we believe we must be a speedboat. We want to stop talking. You can do in all the initiatives, talking. But we want really to act, lead by example, and move forward.
And I think it's all about execution. What we had seen in the past, there were a lot of platforms already existing which have focused on knowledge exchange only. This is good for the time being, but I think when we would like to be successfully in the market, and trust is not creating by believing, trust is creating by knowing, by experiencing this by a customer, then it's really needed to go into a different mode, and this is focus on the execution.
Yep. Wolfgang?
The secret behind is very clever selected partners. Not only partners, and 50% of the partners are sitting there on the brakes. So it's not following their politics. Extremely clever giants, flagships, and they can run this point. They can bring this point forward. If we together work in trust to each other, we can rule the world.
That's a big sentence right over there.
It is.
But if you think about 5 years into the future, 5 years ahead, where do you see this whole thing? I mean, concrete ideas here, visions.
We will make cybersecurity so easy that you will not longer think about that. So everyone is going to turn on the products and the services, and they will have cybersecurity included. So it's going to be easy. You will not have to remember your 5 passwords or your 5,000 passwords that you have in your mind
I don't
anymore.
I have a system. It works.
This is the vision.
Okay.
So 5 years is a pretty difficult one, because we learned over the last 5 years that we can't predict 5 years. But it's very simple. We will always have a battle, and therefore the army is a good idea, against the people out there. And they don't accept borders, they don't accept rules. But I believe if we ensure that we not only have great technology, but also knowledge that people understand and trust, then we will be able to manage the risk like this industry is managing risk since ages. Cybersecurity is just another risk. Like we have a risk in a car to hit a bridge or whatever. There's in every piece a risk. And the industry has been very good to manage risks. And this is the same what we need to do here. So it's nothing new. It's just a different technology.
And you also mentioned knowledge, which of course implies that you need some education for that first.
One of the elements.
Big topic. Yeah.
One of the roots of a very secure IoT is secured identity. Any human and any piece has to have a very secure identity. My dream is, in 5 years from now, my company has shipped 50 billion chips for secure identity. Only.
Okay. Clear vision?
Okay, in 5 years from now, there is no charter of trust anymore, because the rules are in place. It's not needed anymore, sorry. But we will enjoy the time until then.
Oh, look at that, okay.
Quite visionary. I think I would like to stick a little bit more, maybe realistic to this, what I believe. I think that we have executed on this charter of trust and have created this army of the good guys. But currently, if everybody is speaking about, okay, who could join into this initiative we are speaking about companies, we are speaking about human beings, focused maybe on corporate networks. We should anticipate that in 5 years from now, each machine, each single sensor will be part of this army of the good guys based on the rules of the Charter of Trust as well. And that means we speak about 20 billion. You have mentioned 20.8 billion. Some other figures which were announced before, and we've spoken already about 50 billion connected devices in 2020. So it's not a question about whether it will take place. It's only a question when it takes place. And then this combined with the capability of artificial intelligence, which I have mentioned also. This is something on which we have definitely to take care about, because you should know that as alone we, as Deutsche Telekom, we were attacked per day, in average 6 million times per day, per working day, 6 million times. Yesterday was one of a peak. We have no clue about why. 12 million attacks per day. So wow. Please imagine what will happen in 5 years from now, based on all those 50 million, 20 billion connected devices. This is something on which we have to be prepared. And therefore, it's not only to have the right prevention in place. It's more to go onto the area of detection, to look into and anticipate the hackers, the attackers already in my network, in my industrial plants. And this is something on which we have definitely to be prepared. And from my point of view, in 5 years from now, we have all those things as joint forces set up, and hopefully all the AI in place to struggle machine against machine.
Thank you, Dirk.
You still are a bit concerned, I must say, but you are founding partner of the Charter of Trust, so...
I'm not concerned about the need, the only question whether it's not needed anymore in 5 years, therefore.
So if you look into the near future, I see 5 years is hard to predict, but what are you currently working on? I mean, what are the next steps now? Who's coming aboard? Is there anything you could tell us?
Well, like was mentioned before, we are trying to be more predictive. Until now, we have been very, let's say, reactive first, and then preventive, and then we want to be predictive, so that we are able to anticipate on what is needed to do right. And of course, automation has to come through as well for cybersecurity. So there is a lot of processes in place at this moment that are not easy to use. They are not friendly to the different customers and users. So now we try to include as well automation, so that that we can have some more friendly cybersecurity in place. So this is like coming in the next.
And yeah, the biggest challenge currently is that it takes too long to detect an attack. Not sure if you know this, but the average time before you find out that somebody is in your network working in your area is approximately 100 days. So in 100 days, you can do a lot of nasty things. You can download other software. You can take a lot of information out. So we need to accept that this is an ongoing process, and we need to get this number down. So security is becoming something where we accept that we're going to be attacked, where we accept that somebody is getting in our network, but we need to learn what does it mean, what are we doing, and how do we get better every single day. And this is also why this group is so important, because the first attack might be seen by Telecom in Germany. And then we need to ensure that the whole world learns about this attack, because most of the attacks are used many times. And if we share this information, we can get half of the attacks down immediately. So this is what we should focus on.
Okay, maybe you can tell us a bit about the interest in the Charter of Trust. Like what are you looking at here? I mean, we're promoting it now, obviously, also, but do you get a lot of? I mean, are you in contact with a lot of companies right now with this topic?
Yes, we are. But now it's not a Siemens anymore alone. It's really the group of the partners, right. And we start to become more and more picky. Because, as we said, we don't want to become huge, but we want to stay powerful and really deliver on that. So we will go for some few big global players in May.
Looking over to Oliver.
And we might also have some moves in more world regions, one or the other, that it's not only Europe and US. And we might also go for some other sectors like the banking sector or the healthcare sector to be more complete. But then we really want, from June on, to really start working and maybe share with all of you in the next Hannover Fair or in autumn this year some first results.
Okay, so looking at the time, we're through with the time. I'd like to thank you all for joining us here on stage, talking about the Charter of Trust. I hope you'd also enjoyed it. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe we can give our guests here a big round of applause for joining us today. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Natalia, Oliver, Wolfgang, Eva, and Dirk. And I think in closing, we can say that cybersecurity